Just everyone has had a chance to look at them. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 9th meeting as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Gardner, is there support for the motion?
Support.
Ms. School, are there any changes, deletions, corrections to the minutes from anyone? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes as presented, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 5, financial reports. In your packet, you have the regular financial reports for the water board. They include profit and loss, budget versus actual, the balance sheet, check detail, that's 2 pages, and the deposit detail. Just everyone has had a moment to look those over.
I got a question.
Mr. Janke, question.
For the audit, are we paying for last year's audit on this year's budget? Is that what that is? Or how does this,
Yeah, we always do.
has that always been that way? I don't,
Mm-hmm.
all right,
Because it's not done until the new fiscal year or
okay,
the previous year.
just asking. Real quick. Guess I never noticed them.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the reports as presented? Ms. Hool, is there support for the motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Gardner, any additional comments, questions, or concerns about the financial reports other than the one already noted? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept the financial reports, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Payment of bills. The bills for your review are in the folder, I believe. For those that have not had a chance to take a look at them, if you'd like to, please do. Any questions, comments, concerns about the bills paid? Do I have a motion to accept the payment of the bills on behalf of the water system? So moved. Mr. Wareham, is there support for the motion?
Support.
Mr. Janke supporting that?
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions, concerns about the payments made on behalf of the water system?
Was Bob gonna, I see there's some water supply here. Were you gonna buy more than that? Or did you get everything so far?
I didn't get everything.
Okay,
Another bill came in
okay,
today.
all right.
Thank you for the clarification on the question. Anything else? Not all in favor of the motion to accept the payment of bills, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Public comment. We would entertain public comment from anyone present or participating via Zoom for the Osceola Township Water Board meeting. Should you choose to comment, please identify yourself, and you'll have up to 3 minutes. Anyone? We will provide an opportunity at the end of the meeting for someone wishing to comment, should they hear something that they would like to question or offer additional input to at the end of our meeting. Please note the time that public comment is called for. Reports. Item number 8, water operators report. Mr. Matt Folk, the floor is yours. The written report from Bob.
Well, if you want me to go through these items down below that I put on there?
Please, Bob, if you'd like to take a few minutes and highlight some things, please do.
If you're looking at the report, am I going to get the truck painted this before winter? Repaired and painted? Must have the money, right?
Is it better to do it
before winter or after winter? Oh, you want it before winter because it's, it's getting pretty rusty.
It's already starting to rust.
Is it? He does is pick that stuff off and he sandblasts it.
Well, we can't let it go to hell yet, because we don't have money for a new one, so I think we gotta get it done now.
Were we gonna talk with Chris on that at all?
I have a call into him, made earlier this week. He has not returned my call yet. We were trying to schedule a meeting for this week. I'm assuming we will get together next week.
I guess even if we do get another truck, I think I'm in agreement with Don. I don't wanna let it go. We don't wanna just let it go.
It's gonna be worth more if you do trade it in, or whatever you do, you keep it going.
So motion to recommend to the board that the truck be painted before winter.
I got okay. One other thing, is there gonna be anything that goes with the sewer department, Andy? You there?
He's muted. Oh, he's on.
Yeah, I'm here. What was that, Aaron?
I'm just wondering if there's any kind of a support vehicle, you know, anything in the budget for the sewer system.
No, there's a small nominal portion of O&M allotted for support vehicle,
Okay,
but
so
that's
we'll
not
have
gonna,
to either rent our, if our operator needs a vehicle or something like that, he's gonna have to either utilize his own or rent or use one of the other vehicles from the township, and we'll have to just charge that mileage out to the, is that how we're planning to do this, or? I'm just trying to figure out what we're doing here in terms of, because you know where I'm going, hey? Okay, all right. I guess we can talk about that more later. I'm just trying to figure out about this truck. That's what I'm trying to do. So I guess at this point, I'm ready for you to go to ask for that motion.
I'll make
And
a
ask
motion.
if there's a motion to recommend to the board that the truck be painted prior to winter.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Warren moves. Is there support for the motion?
One,
Excuse me, Don?
are we gonna put a limit on it?
Well, I do believe there is a rough
I
estimate.
gave you an estimate already. I
Oh,
don't
did
know
you?
what it was, yeah.
Oh, I did not see that.
That
What
was
was-
last month, right? You gave
Yeah.
us that?
And that wasn't here last month.
Anybody have their
It
September
was
materials?
6,000 something.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Bob?
it's not like it's a
It was
little tiny bit.
6,000
Okay, I'll make the motion to get the truck repaired and painted before the winter.
To a maximum of,
Of that
Whatever the
quote.
estimate is. 6,500, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't remember it exactly.
not to exceed the offered estimate at the September meeting.
Right.
Is there support for the motion? I recommend to the board. that-
I'll support it. We're using the guy down the street, right?
No, I would.
We have a support for the motion and an identification of the firm that will be doing the work. Is there any further discussion on the motion to recommend to the board that the truck be painted before winter, utilizing the September offer bid or estimate as a ceiling on the cost of the painting? So, fair rendering of the motion?
He's just gonna match the paint color, right? He's just,
Any additional questions on the motion, the recommendation?
Are you afraid of him? The guy, and does he go do the work? I don't know.
I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. I'm fine with that. I haven't heard anything bad about him, and he's right in our township, so I have a hard time saying we should go somewhere else when we got a guy that pays taxes to us.
Perfect.
Discussion is concluded. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a recommendation of the board. Bob, you want to continue on your report?
Next item on the thing is, the pump two truck recorder is not working. Robbie Janot from Bay Electric is working on solutions.
This is, just so you know, this is one of those things that I've said over and over, that it's only a matter of time before, is that the,
It can't be repaired anymore.
yeah, this is where I'm going with some of these things that are down in that pump house that are, I don't know, how old did you say that thing is, Bob?
I don't know, like 5 years old, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, these things are some ancient technology here. So when I say some of these things that, you know, besides the pumps being replaced and some of these other things that we need to be looking at, which hopefully you went to that meeting today and you have a report for us here.
this may be an apropos time to bring it up during the water board meeting, since we're raising a maintenance issue. There was a webinar today held by Eagle from 9 to 10 in the morning relative to resources made available through the 2021 fiscal year budget. There's a single sheet of paper in your handouts tonight that are a quick summary of the webinar, helping communities access water infrastructure funding. The money available is listed on the back by category for its use. Additional information will be forwarded by Eagle over the next several days, including a summary of the questions asked, and we'll get that information printed and out to everyone for review. We'll be talking with people that will ideally assist us if we feel there is one or more funding source we can go after. There's $500 million available. A footnote, if I may, since I'm speaking about it, the $293 million and the projects identified underneath it on the second page still require, if I recall correctly, legislative action to authorize the resources, to ultimately amend the distribution and to authorize the funds. There is apparently, according to the presenters, bipartisan support to do just that. So they're pretty confident that all 500 million will be made available. The process will begin in earnest over the next few weeks. There are application deadlines at all. As the additional material becomes available, we will print it and get it out to the entire board and other interested parties, such as Bob and the Water Advisory Board here in Tamarack City, about the opportunity. This is really something we need to take a hard analytical look at. The points Aaron raised earlier and the discussions we've had about everything from storm drain problems in Dollar Bay to pushing water lines from Mason to Tamarack City at all of this might be something we could at least plan to do and conceivably get money to do under this grant if we're successful. Footnote, there were over 1,000 participants in the webinar this morning. So it will be a highly competitive process, but if we don't ask, we have no chance. So I intend to have us ask based on the discussion this morning. So there's at least one place we can turn to where significant amounts of money might be available in the not too distant future.
So
the deadline, if I recall correctly, for distribution of all of the funds is spring, summer of next year. So this is something that's going to move fairly quickly. I understood the conversation at the end of the webinar.
do you have anything to add to that, Andy? Do you know about these monies at all?
Yeah, we sat in on the presentation as well. This funding will be through the Eagle SRF funding process. Generally, it includes 30% loan forgiveness, so basically 30% grant. So yeah, they do have the amounts split up amongst some different categories. One of those is lead service line replacements. I wonder if that might be something to look closer at for Dollar Bay. I understand they got a lot of lead service lines. So
I think we have over 100. Is that correct? Yeah.
Gooseneck still to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely worth taking a look at.
We need to go for it. We need to start looking at. So yeah. All right.
By the way, the email to alert us to this did come from UP Engineering. So thank you to Jim and to Andy and others that were responsible for getting that material out to us and making sure we had an opportunity to participate. So grateful for that. Bob, anything else? Do you have questions for
Next
Bob?
item is a
Oh, I'm sorry.
shed for the vault down here. That went by the wayside.
Yeah, it seems like we talked about that a few times and it's just been forgotten about.
Now the price of lumber is double, so. And the estimate that Reed gave is,
That's no good. That was the price of work.
Well, actually, the estimate and the diagram, whatever, are sitting in a folder. It's just that
I tend to agree right now. I mean, I got some other things out there that are going on that are having a real hard time with lumber situations. So It's not good. If you wanna build something right now, it's not a good time.
Spring may be the earliest we're able to get
I
to
bought
it within our budget.
Two treated 4x4s, 8 foot long, and they're $30 a piece.
What size, what do we need here exactly? Is there something we can buy temporarily to put over that thing, like one of those?
Oh, no, you gotta put a building over it.
Yeah, I'm just asking if there's
You like,
something.
you like that power nut in there too, right?
Well, it's just, the power's right there, you just gotta feed it through inside. Not that big a deal.
My
Reed
recol-
said he would do that.
my recollection of the estimate was that it was just north of $8,000.
What was the size of it?
Like dimensions, I can't recall, but it was 84 something, if I recall.
It wasn't that big.
That's the
It's
cost.
gotta be like 8 by 12 or 16, something like that.
I forgot what his estimate was. I thought it was 10 by 10, but that's just me thinking.
I can revisit that if that's the desire of the water board. My pleasure to give Jay a call, but I'm fearful that the cost will have probably gone up by 50% or more over the original estimate.
Well, this is the Tamarack water department anyways, is it not, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got lots of money.
You guys are loaded.
No. Negative.
Hold the thought. But, we can still take a quick look at it and talk to Jay. Anything else, Bob?
You know, Mason Railroad grade. I got some dirt on both ends, he said. But I mean, it's, you can actually drive through it all
You can drive through?
with a sci-fi, you know. The kids have been driving through there, even where that cable is,
Exposed?
hanging in midair, yeah. There's 2 pipes in that washout, I never realized it was.
This is Cindy. It's hard to hear Bob. Can Bob speak up, please?
We'll do two things. We'll move the mic a little closer and ask Bob to speak up.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Took Mark over there this afternoon to take a look at it, so.
It looks worse than it did the last time he took me over to take a look at it, so I'm gonna get costs at least from, Pat Simnick.
How much cover do we have remaining over our pipe there?
So probably only a couple of feet.
Now,
I think that's the worst part that worries me. Obviously, it's not plowed, but it does get snowmobile traffic sometimes, so I don't know if people will sneak back there or not anyways, but it does pack it down, so frost can go down a little bit, but not as much as if it was plowed. But when it gets packed down, it still can get frost forced down.
I'm sure Bob was gonna mention it, but the water running around those two pipes, culverts area is noticeable after every rain. And, he made a point earlier, I said, we can cover it, he said it'll erode away, if it's not done right, and point was well made, I thought, so. It is, 2 feet down to our water line from there, roughly.
Yes, it-
And they're exposed to culverts, there's no question about it.
yeah, I mean, you can dump dirt over it and that's not solving the problem because, the water's coming from this end. You know, it's just gonna take out the dirt, whatever you put in there.
And we've come to the conclusion at the end here that God has basically said, we're not doing nothing. Is that where we're at here now?
I have yet to find the working agreement. I haven't been as vigorous in my search of late with all the other things going on, but I promised Bob that I'd go get back at it this weekend, so I've got a couple of chores in front of me for the weekend, including that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're asking a lot of you. I don't know what the solution is here, but if they don't agree to something, or if we can't figure something out here, eventually we have to do something no matter what. I mean, if we put some rock in there at the head, try to help hold it in.
I'd have to show you here,
I gotta go look.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to.
I know, I kinda know the spot, but, I haven't been back there for quite some time now, so. Like, if it's worse, that's not
Yeah,
good.
it is not, it was bad enough the first time, it was worse today. And the water flowing because of the rain was rather significant. You can see how it's eating away at the culverts.
And the fiber optic guys don't even care?
They haven't done anything with it, it's still hanging there.
The fiber optic is just hanging there.
Yep.
Just blows my mind. I mean, we're not even we got a problem with ours being 2 feet, but we're not the one that exposed, you know, I mean, they're the ones that got a fiber optic line hanging, and you got 2 culverts for MDOT that are fully exposed. The guy that's 2 feet under all this mess has gotta do the fixing? I don't know, yeah. Okay, well,
That was,
have we called
we called MDOT Rail and had a nice conversation that in effect said, it's your issue.
what about the fiber optic people? I mean, is there something we can team up with them on?
I can ask. I haven't talked to them yet. We've been working with MDOT Rail and then got the answer that we all suspected.
I mean, if their fiber optic line is hanging, and we tell them that your fiber optic line is hanging in the air, you know, and we'd like to make sure that we got a water line underneath it, we wanna get this section fixed, would you guys be a part of this? I have a hard time believing that they wouldn't be open to that, you
Whose
know?
fiber optic is it, Bob? Refresh my memory. You call? Whose line is it?
I don't know.
Is it AT&T?
I don't know.
TNT's on the highway.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. We'll ask them.
Maybe, Andy, do we have that do we know who that is? Cause we did that Mason line. Do we know whose fiber optic that is?
I think it's AT&T, I guess. I don't recall, but it's either AT&T or Ameritech. I guess I was thinking it's AT&T, but
Yeah, it doesn't, does that fiber optic go all the way through down by the sewer project even, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it crosses through there.
All the way.
alright, so he's, start there, yeah. Okay,
We gotta do that, Dennis.
yeah,
Because he called. He called. That was like 2 years ago.
Who do I call to ask?
Dennis Schmidt,
Dennis Schmidt.
Oh, okay. No, Dennis. I'll give him a call.
he works for, I think he's a supervisor now for the locating companies, or the marking,
Oh, Miss Kate?
not mistake. No, he works for,
No,
doesn't he work for like one of the companies that like hires that part out?
No.
Is that he
he's
did?
not.
Tracy, can you really know?
They use him very little anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy in Woodside. The guy in Woodside took his job. Okay, then yet I gotta get an ivy put in that new building so I can put a hoist on there. So I can get pipe out of there. It's really difficult to try to get it out of there because it's laying this way and you gotta pick it up and turn it. You can't turn it far enough because it's hitting the machine, whatever's trying to get it out of there. Whereas if you can, put an I-beam on the ceiling, that was the plan, and then put a hoist on it, and then you just pick it up and turn it and bring it out towards the front and drop it in a trailer. I have no idea what that.
Well, that sounds like something we need to talk to. Like if I was, for me, it'd be like we talked to George Kiesel or something like that, who lives in our township.
Yeah. that'd be
He
fine.
would be the guy that we would want to talk to about how we want to do that. And go from there.
That's fine.
I think that makes perfect sense to have Bob inquire and get him down there to take a look at it and get an
You
estimate.
may want to go too, or I can go, but we would need to go take a look and then he could come up with a recommendation. We do this kind of stuff all the time, but he would be the guy that would be responsible for the structural calculation portion of that. So,
Leave it in your two capable hands then. You guys can follow up on that.
let's try to put together a plan and come up with an estimate, to at least get that far.
Please continue, Bob.
We were at we got there marked on weed whackers, so we did around a Tamarack tank, the Dollar Bay tank, and the pump house in Dollar Bay. Pretty messy job. Yeah, machine that did the job. You could try to do that by hand, it would take you forever. So they're called, what the hell do they call them? I can't remember the name of them. The only other thing I have is, I have to take PFAS samples required by Eagle, and this, I have up until January, but I'm gonna try to do it next week to get it out of the way. Whitewater samples, I bring it down there, and it will go next day air to Pennsylvania. You can't, the state of Michigan does it in Lansing, but you can't, the whole time is 48 hours. And we don't have next day air. We can call it next day air, but it's not gonna get there in time. And 2 samples at $380 a piece. And this is gonna be an annual thing.
Is that Dollar Bay only, or is that one?
Dollar Bay.
Dollar Bay.
That's all I got.
Do you know how much a weed whacker costs, Bob?
I don't know.
Are you looking at like one of those bigger ones, like those trimmer?
Yeah, the
boards?
ones that are powered, you know, I mean, when you're dealing with stuff like that, you can't be jerking
You can't
something
do
back
something
and forth.
on things.
That's what I'm asking. I'm wondering if you're talking about like one of those DR trimmer mower type things, or
Right,
something
right.
bigger, you know?
Yeah,
You talking about renting it for the fall and then looking at purchasing, or you're looking
oh,
at
no, I
purchasing?
already rented it.
Oh, you already rented it? Oh, okay.
I was ahead of you.
It was done. Okay, so we were phrasing it, I thought it was future tense. This is something you've already done and you're alerting us to it. Okay, thank you.
So our water sampling number, what you're saying here is we probably won't have enough to get, and we're gonna have to start increasing our budget on this, this water sampling budget. Is that what we're saying?
Well, that's the only thing that extra that came up. So
far?
it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be an annual thing, so you're looking at 760.
So I mean, our sampling budget is already used up halfway already, and it's only a $3,000 budget. $2,800 budget. So if we're gonna add,
We're pretty much caught up with everything. The only thing that's left is regular backseat samples.
okay, so maybe this will be fine then.
Well, let's see how we.
It should be.
All right.
It should be good.
It should
I'm
be
just gonna
okay.
say, put a note in there for when we. Yeah, I'm looking at budgets. I remember, it'll probably be impossible to remember.
Anything else, Bob? Nope. Thank you. Secretary's report is in your packet. Any questions, comments, concerns about the secretary's report? Moving on, under unfinished business, given that the water system advisories are reviewing the water system ordinance, it seemed like the logical ordinance to put on our website is the next one for community review. Alerting everybody to that intent. That makes sense to everyone?
Yep.
Under new business, item 9, the 2019-2020 audit is done, and the bound copy is in your packet, or has been made available to you at the office. Please review it at your leisure. Please note we will be meeting again in early November because of Veterans Day. And so it's a relatively short turnaround time from tonight's meeting. We're 3 weeks from our next meeting. And that should give you, I hope, ample time to look at it. Please look at it with emphasis on the Osceola Township water system. Actually look at water to include Tamarack City. Ultimately, we're going to need to discuss budget changes at all going forward. But you'll look at what we carried forward and what costs were last year for funding the audit. We did go through a successful audit exit interview a couple of weeks ago, if I recall correctly, and those documents were forwarded as required. If I understood correctly from Chris. I don't need to be speaking for you, but that's already taken place. I'm sort of mentioning it here since I brought up audit. I don't have to say as much time on that. Does anybody have anything else for the water board at this time?
One other item,
Bob?
I noticed on, when I did the last reads, that, what's her name that lives on Red Meadow Circle?
You talking about here in Tamarack City?
Yes.
Okay.
Only one Red Meadow Circle. What the heck is her name?
Our sign.
Shields? I believe it's Shields.
Yes. I noticed that the last read, she had a $200 water bill. And she has an automatic thing that fills the pond, and it wasn't working right. That's why she used so much water, and I assume that she hasn't gotten it fixed yet. So, I mean, $200 worth, that's a lot of water. So I hope they're not forgiving her water bill.
She fills a pond?
Yeah, she's got some kind of a pond. I don't know what it's for. Right? And it's on a timer, and the timer got stuck, and it just kept filling. This has been going on for like 3 months now. I think about 3 months.
Okay. Has she been paying it?
Don't know. That's why I'm just questioning it.
We'll find out if there's questions, comments, concern, or requests made, but thanks, Bob, for the heads up. Does anybody else have anything? We're about to adjourn our meeting, but we'll provide one more opportunity for public comment for the Osceola Township Water Board. Does anyone present or joining us via Zoom have a comment that they would like to make? If so, please identify yourself. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Mark?
Yes.
Hey, this is Kristen.
Yes, Kristen.
Hi, I had a question on the ordinance item that you just mentioned. Are you reviewing all the water ordinances, or could you say a little more about that?
We have a water ordinance that covers both systems. There are subsets in the township. So we'll be posting our ordinance number 46 on the website. There's a single water ordinance that affects the township at this time.
Are there any current concerns in it that you're looking at in particular?
There are a few things that have been pointed out to the advisories at recent meetings or in conversations with staff at the office. And we also have interpretations on some definitions that we're seeking input on and will be clarifying. So we thought it was an appropriate ordinance to put up at this time for township review in our review process to gather input. I'll give you one example off the top of my head. I don't have the ordinance right in front of me, but we have a definition in the ordinance that defines premise or premises as property, and it stops there. And we've had some discussions about that internally, about a possible expansion of the definition given some of the language used in the ordinance. So stuff like that. So given that we're discussing it, we thought it appropriate to seek input from the community.
Thank you. That's helpful
problem.
to have a little bit more of the context. I noticed when reviewing the ordinance on the blight that it was challenging to review an entire ordinance and not really have much context for the usage and the, you know, what the current hurdles are and such. So I welcome the opportunity to comment or to review these things, but if there's any way that that information of like what you're looking at can be relayed, it just allows a little bit more context for the reviewer, you know, for a citizen to be able to say, oh, okay, well, here's my opinion on that. Not that a citizen would necessarily weigh in on every matter, but if there's any way to illuminate that, it just allows for, you know, better feedback, I think, from the citizen. So I just provide that as a general comment. I also put that into my blight comments that I provided back. So thank you for providing those additional references.
It did sound familiar. Thank you for additional information, and your point is well made.
Wonderful, thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Any additional comments? Anything else to come before the water board from the membership or people present? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Mr. Wareham, is there support?
Support.
Mr. Janke? All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We stand adjourned. We will reconvene in 4 minutes. Thank you. Meeting to order. Roll call attendance. Ms. Hool.
Here.
Mr. Ware.
Here.
Ms. Gardner. Here. Mr. Hopewell.
Yes. Everyone's present. We have a quorum. Item 3 on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Present, we do rise and raise the flag and join in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
I took off with my right hand. I went like this. I'll make you come back.
You ready, people? The first item on our agenda, action is approval of the agenda. Thus, everyone has had a chance to look at it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Ms. Hool, is there support? Mr. Janke, are there any corrections, additions, deletions to the motion? Gentlemen, if I could please interrupt, we're in the middle of the meeting and the mic is picking up everything as well, so. Thank you.
Under new business C, just the recommendation from the water board.
D under new
C,
business.
C, like cat.
Or C,
Yeah. Thank you.
and I will make D the November meeting schedule.
Oh,
That's quite all right. So with the additions of C, the recommendations from the water board, and D, the November meeting schedule. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the amendments? Moved. Mr. Wareham, is there support?
I'll support.
Ms. Gardner. Again, any additions, deletions? As amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. You have 2 sets of minutes in your packet, one from our September 9th meeting and one from the September 29th special meeting. We'll take a motion first on the meeting minutes from our September 9th meeting. With a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Gardner, is there support?
Second.
Mr. Jenke. Corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes for the September 9th meeting. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from our September 9th, 2020 meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Was that tree removed?
I'm
That's
sorry?
on the bottom? Was that tree taken
Not yet.
care of? No? Okay, just wondering.
It said, he said, was the tree removed yet? I said, not yet.
Oh, it's on the agenda. We've approved the minutes for our September 9th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our September 29th special meeting? Meeting held on September 29th. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Financial reports. Have in your packet, financial reports for Township, Road Fund, Mason Wastewater Fund, Tamarack City Water, and Osceola Township Water. Trust everyone has had a chance to review the reports. Do I have a motion to accept the financial reports as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Gardner, is there support for the motion to accept the financial reports as presented? Support, excuse me.
I'll support.
Ms. Hool, we have a motion and support to accept the financial reports as presented. Is there any discussion, question, or issue? Board member on the report.
I have a question. Maybe it doesn't belong here. Is the state or is anyone doing anything for like financial compensation for these people that are working on this election thing because of absentee ballots and that stuff?
No,
There's no extra support for that or nothing, even though you work 10 times normal than your job.
No.
That's
An
concerning.
interesting question. You may be right, Mr. Wareham, that it needs to be raised, but we're dealing with the reports for the township at this moment, so direct us back to that if there are any additional questions, comments, or issues. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept the reports as presented, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
I did have one question though.
You can back up for just a second and entertain.
It's
your
not gonna,
question.
it doesn't affect whether or not we're accepting it, but I was looking at the budget number for the engineering.
yes. Me too.
And, my question is what engineering is getting charged into there? Are we charging the water or the sewer project engineering into that, or how is that going?
That bill that we just paid to, was that Traverse Engineering, Krista?
Okay.
That's what put us over, and I guess that was my question when I paid that.
Oh, yeah, because we have to move money
We
out
have
of
to
the
move.
road fund to cover it.
So for now, it's over.
Because we approved the money out of the road fund, so we paid, because it was paid in a couple of installments, and we didn't have all of the money at the time, and we approved it at like 3 different meetings, we just paid them all out of the general fund, and we're gonna just
We have to move money.
move the money in to cover it.
Okay, and just,
For clarification, we're talking about the 6th Street project in Tamarack City, correct? The work
I think that's
done
what it was
here
for, yeah.
With the Travis Engineering bill of $31,644 or whatever it was. That one that's coming out of the road fund.
We don't know.
I don't know the amount, but
Our
yeah,
engineering is over
Yeah.
34% right now, but it will. fix
it'll go
itself
back
in
once
time.
that deposit goes in.
I guess what's interesting to me here on this is that we have a sewer project, for instance, that you're not seeing run through this budget, but we're having some of these other projects that are funded and they are running through this budget. And I'm wondering how that's working. I guess you understand what I'm saying here?
The Mason one's separate.
There will be a separate budget ultimately for the Mason Sewer.
Well,
Project.
I mean,
I know, but it's, all right, I guess we're just gonna have our own separate budget for it, and it's not, even though it's that particular, the project costs aren't really in that budget. Okay, I'm just saying that it's a little weird, you know, to me, to have a fully funded project, or a project that was, I guess it wasn't fully funded, it was the road portion, that is the road stuff. You know, that's coming out of one fund and being charged to another line item, I guess. Why is it not just being charged as a part of the project to the road fund itself?
That's a very good question. I think one we perhaps should
I mean,
seek
if we wanna-
clarification on if necessary, because we
Well,
took it out of the
ultimately it
road fund.
will, because we have to move the money out of the road fund.
I understand, but what I'm
Into the-
saying is maybe there should be line items underneath the road fund that say engineering or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That are, so we're saying, hey, this money got spent here.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't just take it and move it to the general fund for the fun of it, because we're not technically supposed to ever do that. It was spent over here, is what that's all I'm saying, is that it's a little weird that the money, I understand what you're saying, you're taking the money out of a fund that's supposed to be, but you're running it through the general fund when it's, that money's not supposed to run through the general fund.
I think I understand what you're saying, if I may offer a
But you
comment.
I could be wrong, so go ahead.
As we amend the budget for the road fund to show all the expenditures, you are suggesting that we show the engineering cost for the project on Sixth Street that was taken and approved out of the road fund, under the road fund. So it was charged off to the fund that paid the bill.
It is, and
rather than transferring it from the road
and
fund.
not taking money and running it and putting it into a general fund area and then paying the bill. I know it's, in our minds, it's correct, you know, but, I feel like these road funds are supposed to definitely be kind of isolated funds, so. I know we have other things that we want to talk about this budget, and there's a lot of stuff out there it's constantly, and you guys can disagree with me on this or not, but I feel like if we're spending road fund money, that it needs to be shown that it's going through the road fund somehow. I'm just saying that. I don't know, you know, maybe there's no way to pay for that. I mean, are you? I don't know. I just find it strange. I mean, are we running? Is somewhere in our general fund? Are you paying the bills on the? You know, I mean, we have a separate fund for the Mason project, but it's not coming through the
roads too.
Yeah, we have a separate.
And like you're saying, I'm looking here and seeing engineering coming out of here, but I'm not seeing it anywhere in the road fund where that engineering costs are in there.
It's just a deduction from the road fund. I'm not sure that's.
But it's not clear.
Yeah.
That's not.
Don and Ed are making, I think, a valid point. Can we see clarification from our auditing firm about how to proceed with that?
I think we've been talking to.
Yeah, I know you've been.
Christina.
Maybe she says it's,
Right.
maybe she says it's okay. I don't know. It just seems a little strange that something that's supposed to specifically be earmarked, we can't use it for, obviously we have a trail for it, but it's definitely not shown as being under the in and the out are not equaling necessarily on the line items in the road.
We'll raise that
Well,
question. Do you
that's
agree?
only
Yeah.
because it hasn't been done yet. We haven't taken the money out of there.
Right.
So sooner or later, you tell me in this road fund,
It'll
I'm
show
gonna
up,
see the
yeah,
money
right.
come out of
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
But it's gonna
And
say
there-
engineering in there somewhere?
Well, yeah, that's
There is an
probably what
engineering
we'll put it
line.
under, because that's what it was for.
There's total engineering and engineering.
The reason that we did it that way was we hadn't approved the full amount that we needed to approve to come out of the road fund that we had to write the check for. So instead of like writing a partial check out of the road fund and a partial check from somewhere else, we just thought, we'll write the whole check out of the general fund and then we'll reimburse it, you know, put it so that it's correct after the fact, because we hadn't approved it yet, but they needed the money.
We approved the expenditure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it messes with budgets though, because then it puts money in here and then you're showing money spent there and spent here.
But it's not gonna be, like, once they make the deposit into the general,
Are you
it's
gonna
not
just
gonna be there
subtract it off of
anymore.
this side then, or
It
what?
will,
Yeah,
yeah,
Part of
so
the
it's
road
gonna,
fund
like,
would be an
reverse
asset
it.
then in the
It's
general
gonna
fund.
undo this.
yes.
You're not gonna move it into the budget side and say, we're not gonna increase the budget.
No, no.
All right.
Replacing the money expended, but yeah, we'll get clarification.
Basically, the line item that we wrote the check out of, we're gonna line item the deposit back into.
We'll get clarification on that.
Maybe it's something for indirectly loaning or something.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna take it back off the top end of there, take the 13 something and bring it back down to whatever. So it's no longer shown on this side here, it's gonna be shown somewhere else. I guess I'm okay
It
with
will.
that.
It will.
We'll get clarification. Yeah. We'll make sure we do it correctly. But based on the audit, there isn't a reason to assume that our past practice, which is applied here, I believe, is incorrect because our audits. There's a way we're moving resources around our funds. But it is confusing, Aaron, and it is something that probably needs clarification.
And we're trying to get rid of the road funds, right? We're trying to put those in one.
Well, the old road fund,
The
yeah.
old
Road fund,
yeah.
which is separate and distinct
Right.
from the precinct road funds.
For the precinct, yeah.
I mean, the road funds, do they have their own checking account, or
One for all three.
there is its own account? as well?
Yeah.
But there is a breakout in the deposit by precinct. You know exactly how much money is in
Yes.
precinct 1, 2, and 4. In the road.
But we didn't have the money to pay that bill yet
In that account.
in that account.
We give ourselves a loan, and that's fine, I understand that part of it.
Yeah, we want ourselves money,
Yeah. Right?
kind of, indirectly,
Essentially.
between accounts, we loan money between accounts.
But it needs clarification so we can follow the trail. That was a post motion and support and vote question.
I'm sorry I get rid of you guys that much,
No,
but
no,
I'm just looking at it, and that's all.
And I owe Don an apology since we digressed into another topic here, and I mentioned that there's another place, so please accept my apologies for the earlier remark on payment relative to election stuff, because that was something we were gonna discuss generally, perhaps later on in the agenda. Item 7, approval of payment of bills, general fund, road fund, Mason fund, TC water, and Osceola Township water. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Gardner moves. Is there support for the motion to
I'll
approve
support.
payment of the bill? Mr. Jenke supports. Is there any additional discussion on the payment of the bills? Post-payment approval, but we'll still have a roll call vote.
Mr. Jenke,
Yes.
Mr. Ware,
Yes.
Ms. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Hopewell,
Yes. Item 8, public comment. Anyone present or participating via Zoom? This is the first of what will be 2 opportunities to provide comment, input to the township board. Is there anyone interested in providing comment at this time? If so, please identify yourself, and you will have up to 3 minutes.
Hi, Mark. This is Cindy Barth. I'm noted in the September 9th meeting minutes as asking how the supervisor at the township could assist in getting potholes repaired specific to Dollar Bay. Will you be covering this in your supervisor's report?
I will be.
Wonderful. And my other 3 questions that I don't know if you're going to be covering in the report as well is, do you have a list of potholes that you contact Houghton County with? And the other question is, do citizens call you with their pothole concerns to put on your list? And the last one is, do citizens have to call the county as well?
When we get to my report, if I may, please raise the questions again in order if I do not recall all of them.
Okay, thank you.
That's not an imposition.
Bye.
Mark,
Thank you. Additional comment?
Mark?
Yes,
Okay, this is Kristen.
yes, Kristen.
I think I have two pretty quick ones. One is I wanted to add a piece of feedback, tacking on to Aaron's comment a few minutes ago about the budget and tracking the road fund and how those dollars get allocated. And I just wanted to say that that as far as items I know in the city that are of public interest, that the road fund and the spending of the road fund is one that seems to come up as an item of public interest. For example, on UperCare's Facebook page, there was a question just last week about the spending of the road fund and where the money has gone, et cetera. And the feedback would be that if there is a way that those funds can be tracked clearly, and I want to say this with the context that I've had a prior interaction with Tracy on this, and she was able to provide some of the funding and the budget of the money and some of this, but it's not really packaged very cleanly and clearly in a way that one could easily hand it to a citizen and say, hey, here's where all the money for the Dollar Bay went since the millage was passed. Or here's how much total millage was, collected for Tamarack City, and here's exactly where it went and which projects. It didn't line up that neatly. So the feedback would be that, and I know that I'm sure there's tons and tons of projects that the township is working on, but I wanted to let you know that if there was a way that information could be relayed clearly to the township people, there would be interest, especially since the roads are something that are of ongoing interest. For tracking, and there could be, what if there was another millage in the future? The first question that people are going to have are, well, hey, where did the money go? And why couldn't we repair all the roads? So that's one thing that ended up being longer than I anticipated. And then the second was that I made a comment after not being able to access the election commission meeting. And I want to say that, Tracy, thank you for getting back to me that I could have attended via audio. But the Zoom wasn't available, I assume because UP Engineering wasn't a necessary part of that meeting. And I didn't provide the suggestion to the township to perhaps consider their own Zoom account, which really isn't that expensive, I don't think. It's about $149 a year for the township to have its own account, in which case that would never be an issue if UP Engineering wasn't needed. And acknowledging that they're very helpful and have helped the township launch the virtual format. So I want to acknowledge that and just say that I provided that feedback that perhaps at some point the township will get its own account so that there would never be that conflict or the question of the tight relationship between UP Engineering and the township. It would just make the township a little more independent virtually. And that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Present or participating via Zoom? Thank you very much for the input. We will provide an opportunity at the end of the meeting should someone wish to address the board prior to adjournment. Please note the time for public comment. Reports. Move rather quickly through these. The assessor's report is in your packet. Maintenance report is in your packet. Dollar Bay Fire Department report. Open, the floor is yours.
We have fire department paid out 2 times since last month's meeting. Once was down here to Junction Road and stoplight. That individual was putting a blue car and taken away. And then we had 1 power line down on Lower Point Mills Road in the heavy winds that Friday evening. Other than that, we've been quiet. Very quiet, and I'm happy.
Are you gonna do Halloween?
We are kicking it around. If we do anything, it'll be from 5 to 8. We'll be kicking around with the guys, and we get bands pull up with 9 kids pile out of it, hand them candy, and we'll have all their gear, masks on the whole bit. But I mean, for the kids right now, I think it'd be a good thing to do for them. I really do. I mean, they're so tied down at home and school
Right,
and whatnot.
right. When are you gonna decide? We've got people calling the township, and I know Jason
it'll be
Norland was
on-
asking, people are asking at Richie's, they kinda wanna know what,
It'll be on Halloween night.
I know, but I mean, when are you gonna make a decision if we're doing? Ron?
Oh,
Within a couple days, I'll get ahold of you.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that one.
let me compose myself for a moment here. Thanks, Ron. Needed that.
Tracy left yourself wide
Oh.
open.
I know.
All the seriousness just left the room. You know. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, that's enough.
Oh,
We'll post signs then. Yeah.
let me take a deep breath. Oh, it's gonna be impossible to top that one. Dollar Bay First Responders, there's a handout.
Written in there?
Tamarack City Fire Department, a handout, and there's an addition on the handout. Mr. Warren, if I may impose upon you about Halloween?
Yes, we are gonna do trick or treating, we decided, and it will be from 5 to 7:30 on Halloween night.
On Halloween. Oh, great. I need a second of them. Thank you, Mr. Wareham. Tamarack City Utility Board, the Water Board, there's a handout. Torch Lake Sewage Authority, handout. Tracy, do you want to address election commission meeting now, or I've got to get my notes lined up?
Yeah, we just went through, we had the election commission meeting last week. I don't know where my notes are.
I believe the agenda's in your packet.
It's right there. Just went over the precincts, the fire hall down here, Dollar Bay Fire Hall, and the Harvest Church up in Calumet for precinct 4. We will be doing the pre-test on October 26th at 10 a.m. in the town hall, and the public accuracy test on the 28th at 10 a.m. All the election supplies have been ordered and are in the office. I've been working countless hours getting absentee ballots out. It is nonstop, and looking forward to this to be over. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Take this down so I'm not stumbling over words behind my mask. I'll move quickly through several items. Much of this is informational update. Mason Sewer Project progress meeting summaries are in the bill packet. If you're interested in getting a hard copy, I'll gladly make one for you. Meeting, I believe, on the 2nd of October, and then one 2 weeks prior to in September. Those summaries are available. We've received, and it's in your packet, a thank you letter from Parks and Recreation for support of the trail repair. Mr. Backman has very generously offered, and there's an inventory in your packet of what he has provided, pictures of the Dollar Bay and surrounding area. It's really a picture of history, if you will, of significant parts of Osceola Township. Expressed our gratitude and appreciation for Mr. Backman, and there is a letter drafted by Krista that's quite nice and out on the table for signature, if you haven't signed it already, thanking John for his generous contribution to the township. From a personal side on that is we brought them up into the storage unit at the top of the office building. I made sure all of the identifying information was facing out, and I can tell you right now, there's probably a half a dozen boxes that as soon as my schedule permits, I'm going to be up there going through them, because His pictures in our primary township meeting room are excellent. Perhaps not all of them are his, but the vast majority, my understanding, are. They're excellent, and if that is a sampling of what's in the attic, it's going to be pretty remarkable. So, very generous gift from John. With regards to the road commission, very quickly, this may answer some of the questions raised earlier, perhaps not, but additional work in Tamarack City with the approval at the special meeting. They are in the process of paving E Street up on the hill. That work hopefully will be done in the next week or so. The weather has been a bit of a problem for them, but they started a week ago. There's also a runoff issue here on 4th Street, and that has been looked at, and they will be addressing that shortly. With regards to potholes, I did talk with, I believe it's Ray Salvio at the Road Commission about potholes in Osceola Township generally and Dollar Bay specifically. And the trucks have been in Dollar Bay 2 or 3 times over the last couple of weeks. I've seen them twice, and they have been patching potholes. And with regards to the post office area in particular, where there are some notable potholes, they have been there at least once, filling some, but perhaps not all of the potholes. My hope is that they will be back again, but they are, as you can imagine, in high demand, and their work is somewhat related to weather conditions. So when it's as inclement as it's been, it's a little more difficult for them to be successful. But grateful for the Road Commission's response to our requests. With regards to potholes, again, if people want to bring additional potholes to our attention, please do. Cannot promise action this fall, but they did indicate during that meeting that what they do not get to in October and perhaps early November, they will get to in the spring. That does include street lines in Dollar Bay. And that has come up as a topic from several, including members of the board, about the lack of lines on Main Street at all. And that regrettably has been pushed off to the spring, but they will get to it. With regards to Sandy Bottom, the freezer that floated up on the beach is gone. The tree, however, is pending. I know there's a lot of storm damage with recent heavy rains, and we've got some issues with the contractor identified to do the work there to get the tree out. I believe Tracy has contacted the firm and the individual at least twice, if not more, in the last week or so. And I know they're aware of it and hope to get to it. With regards to the ice rink, we forwarded the pictures to our insurance company. I've had 2 conversations in the last 3 days with people from Julio's who I'd approached some time ago to get an offer to at least remove the boards. That offer should be available for our review at our early November meeting. The offer is supposed to be done Monday or Tuesday of next week and get dropped off. Since we're working through our insurance company, we want to make sure that all the work done down there, less the deductible, is taken care of in this process. And we need to discuss, I believe, at our November meeting, possible options for use of the ice rink this year, because getting boards in will not, in all likelihood, be possible. That was something we discussed at our last meeting. We would hope that the settlement is something we could roll forward, along with other money identified for that area, and possibly get some additional recreation money to do a much more comprehensive job on the ice rink. It's permanent surface, the basketball court at all, in a recreation grant of some type by next spring. I've got a call in this week to Mr. Holmes at UP Engineering relative to the truck grants. We were going to try to meet prior to this meeting. Unfortunately, his schedule has not permitted him to get back to me. I'm anticipating a call this week, and hopefully we'll get together next week. Pat Greeley has provided information to us. This is the township's attorney, Hendricks and Bordeaux. We've got some issues still around the property here in Tamarack City where there are blight issues. I will be talking with him briefly early next week on that matter. With regards to ordinances, I've received his input relative to what I'm calling and referenced at past meetings, sort of a heads up alert letter to ordinance violations. He forwarded to me a draft of his idea and thoughts on this. It was very helpful and consistent with other input from people who had looked at the original draft I developed. In deference to all of you that looked at it, and to Pat really referencing where it may have come from, though it sounded like a good idea to me, really wasn't such a good idea. After all, it really comes from the township. And that's what his draft letter points out, rather than saying that a friend, a neighbor, someone from the far side of the copper country or whatever went by and commented. Everybody sort of said, you really sure you want that in there? And in hindsight, everybody was right, and I was certainly wrong on that. That might cause more animus and confusion and concern in the community rather than addressing the issue of getting stuff done. So Pat's draft, which I've only briefly looked at, certainly addresses that issue by removing any hint of that and placing it squarely where it belongs, on oversight and enforcement at the township level. We've had a brief conversation at the Water Board in Tamarack City, along with some brief conversations inside the office about how to proceed with ordinances. I'm just going to offer some ideas for your consideration without any real detail. But though we're posting ordinances, we're getting most of our feedback orally rather than in writing, which would be the ideal way. So I'm not trying to recall from memory what somebody mentioned to me at the post office or on the sidewalk. The alert letter hopefully will be available for your review and insertion into our enforcement process after the November meeting, should you act favorably on it. Currently reviewing ordinances at all, and we'll be posting the water ordinance. And then something that was floated but has not received any kind of discussion was creating something that would be a township-wide work group on ordinances to solicit community input. I'm not going to dwell on it or provide any detail at this moment, but simply planting a seed that perhaps we get buy-in if we include a representative from each of our 3 precincts or something like that to join us or a subset of the board as we go through the ordinances and their review. Lastly, I participated in the Eagle webinar on clean water et al. This morning from 9 to 10. It was certainly beneficial. There's, as I mentioned at the water board meeting, a lot of money, relatively speaking, that's going to be made available. And I could have thought of 2 or 3 categories where we might qualify for funding. It will be a very competitive process, but I think it's one worth exploring with vigor because there is a lot of money on the table, and we have constantly been confronted with infrastructure issues around wastewater, water, sewer systems at all. And who knows, we might be able to put together a plan that would be fully funded to address everything from storm runoff in Dollar Bay to pushing the water main from Mason to Tamarack City. So input is going to be critical, and timelines, though not immediate, are going to be fairly tight. So we'll explore this with great vigor. That's pretty much all I've got. Questions, comments, concerns, issues, or things from previous meetings that I promised to look at and did not mention and perhaps forgot all about?
Anything on our cleaning of the or the storm?
Oh, thank you. No feedback, nothing back yet from Torch Lake Township. I'm assuming silence is, we're not in a position to do it. But I'll follow up. I have a note at the office to call them this week, and I regrettably haven't gotten to it yesterday or today, but I will call them before the weekend. It is on my to-do list yet again. I've left messages. I'm not getting calls back, so I suspect.
Are we actually using Lake Linden's DPW? Is that who's doing it, or is it the Torch Lake Sewer Authority?
I think it's the Torch Lake Sewage Authority has their own truck, and the rate that, if I recall correctly, is $150 an hour,
clean out storm drains. Easy, even if we could get our worst ones taken care of, but, when they're not responding, I'll call again. Keep asking.
Good idea. to get it
Thank
done.
you, I had intended to mention that and I didn't, I apologize. Thanks,
The
sir.
weather we've had is
Yeah,
constantly having control over there. The only way that can stop it is like.
there's no question.
You know, good.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
And it's gonna be worse in the spring, but if we have to wait, we're gonna try to get at the top of their list. Get it done right away. Thank you for that. No, I did not have any additional information. I apologize for not.
No, that's okay, I just asked.
Any other questions of me? Moving on to unfinished business, UP Engineering Mason Sewer Project update and action items.
Jim's on,
Is Jim on?
yes.
The floor is yours.
I just had to find the mute button. Good evening. Yeah, Mason, they're working on the lift station. Once that's completed, up and running, we'll have a startup and hopefully be able to go live. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the goal is still to have everything up and running by the end of the month. Is that correct, Andy?
I think that might be a little aggressive, but certainly by the end of November.
Okay, we'll continue to push the contractor to be done by the end of the month.
Still wait for fence and control, so.
Yeah, and right now, because of COVID, there's a lot of equipment out there that is being delayed across the country. So it's impacting a lot of projects as far as getting equipment delivered. And I wasn't up to speed on the equipment delivery for this project, so that's why I referred to Andy on that. So, and they're within their contract time if they're finished by the end of November as well. So they were actually just trying to get it done ahead of time as much as they could. And I think what they've accomplished in the short amount of time that what they have done is pretty darn good. With that though, there is a resolution for the next pay draw to rural development. We recall we had a special meeting because the Eagle, the state of Michigan Eagle money, grant money had to be done and applied for before September 30th. So that was done, and that included partial payment for MJO for their pay request, which was submitted to Eagle a couple weeks ago. And Eagle covered part of their pay request in the amount of $162,227.55. So the remainder of that pay request, and that brought the Eagles money to 100%. So now the remainder of that is on what's on the resolution tonight for MJO, the $216,684.67, along with UP Engineers outstanding invoice of $21,929. So the total invoice, total resolution is for $238,613.67, which will be requested from rural development, the grant portion of the project. I'll be looking for a motion to approve that and take any questions you have.
Are there questions prior to calling for a motion? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the third RD draw request in the amount of $238,613.67?
Motion.
Ms. Hool, is there support for the motion?
I'll second.
There is support for the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. We'll have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the drawing.
Mr. Drapey,
That's
Mr. Wareham,
Yes.
Ms. Gardner? Yes. Mr. Hopewell?
yes.
Myself, yes.
Motion carries. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Jim, is there anything else?
Yes, there's a change order to the contractor, MJO. That would be change order number 1, I believe. Let me look at it a minute here.
Number 2.
Number 2.
I'm sorry, number 2. And it's actually as items are finished on a project, 100%, we'll go through and adjust the quantity to final installed quantities. And in this case, there was some savings on quantities as far as how the contractor approached installing the mains. So there's it's a quantity adjustment to the actual installed for those items that are done. So it's a decrease in the contract amount of $18,854.40. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve that.
Are there any questions of Jim prior to me calling for a motion to approve change order number 2? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve change order number 2? Subject to the Mason and Sewer project. Jim, could you restate the amount, please?
It's a decrease in the contract amount of $18,854.40. It would put the new contract price to $909,940.53.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll make the motion to accept change order number 2.
Mr. Wareham moved. Is there support for Mr. Wareham's motion?
I'll second.
Gardner. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, on the motion to accept change order number 2.
Mr. Drapey. Mr. Wareham,
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Hopewell?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries, 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Jim, anything else?
That's all I have for tonight. If there's no other questions for me, I'm gonna run.
Any additional questions?
I have a, excuse me, I have a question for Jim. This is Mike and Linda Heisler.
Yes.
Please.
Hi, Jim. Were you able to contact or get a hold of everybody in Mason regarding the laterals going to their homes?
I believe everyone received a stake. Andy, can you confirm that? I know Emmett was doing that. And I know there was a couple that they were couldn't catch at home or whatever, but has that been completed, Andy?
We, or our Emmett, and the other field representatives made several attempts to contact everybody. You're right, a few were not able to be contacted due to being out of the area or health issues or whatever, but a good attempt was made to contact everybody, and most were contacted, but there were a few. In those cases, the laterals were installed at a down gradient location that was, in our best estimation, the best spot to put it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Andy, lawnmower equipment?
Yeah. Yeah, the sewer project included $10,000 for the purchase of a lawnmower to mow the sewer drain field in Mason. So I provided a little spec, and I reviewed that with Jim Sierra. But just wanted to run it by the board and see if there's any further input or changes or further specifications that should be included on this lawnmower. Might be some folks know a little bit more about lawnmowers than I do. So if anyone has some thoughts, I guess now would be a good time to raise those, and maybe we can add them to the our proposal or request for quotes.
Does anyone have comments, questions, concerns about the lawnmower equipment identified in the 2-page spec/summary of the lawnmower?
So I've got several models included in there, and those were models provided to me by Wards and Northern Lawn Equipment, who reps John Deere, and also Abe Supply. So we're basically looking at a 0-turn lawnmower, 60-foot deck, a 60-inch deck, a 24-horse minimum size motor, and also a trailer to transport mower.
And your expectations of the township board are?
Well, basically, review it, I guess, agree with it or make any additions that they see fit to make, and then the township, once we get an approved copy, send that out to the local providers with a request for quotations. And I guess I can help you with that as well if you'd like.
Does anyone have questions, comments at this moment? Would you like time to review it, or do you feel comfortable making a motion to give Karen an opportunity to proceed?
Quotes don't cost anything.
I have a motion to endorse the process as outlined and allow Andy to proceed with posting lawnmower equipment specifications to receive bids.
Well, are we gonna look at them first? Or
Yep, that's why I'm asking.
They say quotes don't cost nothing, we can look at it.
you can just get the quote anyway.
Right.
So we'd like to get basically quotes and actually purchase. We'd like to complete it before the next meeting in November. We could complete that transaction with RD and get the township reimbursed. So it shouldn't take the equipment shops very long to get us quotes. So if you guys want to look that over the next few days and maybe get any revisions or suggestions over to me by end of, say, Friday.
What's your pleasure?
Jim?
Jim, did you
Andy.
want to add something?
If you get quotations or quotes there, could you get more warranty information from the other two manufacturers? Because right now the John Deere has like a 2-year no limit hours warranty or a 3-year 1,200 hours. The other ones I couldn't find warranties for. And I mean, that could make a difference there. If you're 2 years, no limit on hours.
That's gonna be a lot.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we could put that right in our request for quotations, require or specify a 1-year or a 2-year no hour limit on the mower. can certainly add it to this specification.
I mean, you're asking for a 5-year, but you're saying that they're not gonna provide that?
I guess I threw a 5-year prorated warranty in there just as a topic. That might be stretching it. I suspect a 5-year might be stretching it, but like John Deere, as Jim said, provides a 2-year, so that would be in the realm of what's currently being offered.
They also, if I may, Andy, Jim, they have a 3-year with an hour limit, right?
Right, 1,200 hours.
Yeah.
The first 2 years, there was no limit on hours, it says.
You'll never get close to that in 3 years. We might not get
Andy,
close to that in 13 years.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do we want,
I want to talk to Jim about some of this too, separately, so, because I got a couple questions that I just want to ask him, but, I mean, if you guys, I can talk to him and then forward that on, whatever information on him.
that makes sense.
So if that's the way we're gonna do it, this sounds fine.
A motion then to endorse the format that Andy outlined relative to the purchasing of a mower for the Mason sewer project.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Wareham, is there support?
I'll support.
Who will support it? Further discussion? Point of reference, Andy, our next board meeting will be the first week of November. 3 weeks from tonight. Is it gonna be possible for you to get all the specs back and we could make a decision on that date then, relative to the purchase?
Yeah, I think that should be doable. I will be on first week of November.
First week in November, we're scheduled to meet on the 4th.
Okay, I'll be out of the area. So, yeah, as far as, I can bring Jim up to speed with this mower and he can probably handle it from there, but, with, the meeting on that date, on that first week, maybe Jim can also open up the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess, if we can nail down a good spec end of this week, send it out, get some quotes and get some good information ready for action at the next meeting.
Is that acceptable as part of the plan under the motion?
Mhm.
Thanks, Andy. Any additional questions, comments? All in favor of the motion to permit Andy to proceed, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thanks, Andy. Anything else, sir?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next item on our agenda, Travis Engineering Report. Have they joined us via Zoom? I will follow up. I went into the office late this afternoon in hopes that a written report relative to the status of the FEMA project bid and information relative to the Calumet Township, Michigan American Water Company discussions about purchase be available. John Paul said he would try to get material to us a short week to prepare. I talked to him early in the week. Unfortunately, it hasn't arrived yet. It will be part of the next board meeting packet for sure. Information and probably the need for us to discuss and conceivably make some decisions. Anecdotally, all I know is it looks like the FEMA project will probably not be finished until next spring. Item C under unfinished business, Fulton County Recreational Authority. We tabled this back in July. I have been in conversation with Mr. Larson, who is the new county administrator, and was operating under the assumption that the meeting, a possible meeting of this authority would take place either this month or next month. received an email at the end of the day indicating that the meeting has tentatively been pushed to the first full week in December. So, and that's a tentative date at this moment, so we could leave the item on the table, giving those of you who have not yet had a chance to look at that in any detail, an opportunity to review it before our November meeting. And then we could decide in November, perhaps, if we're interested in joining or not. Is that acceptable? It will remain tabled. New business. In your packets, copies of our immediate past fiscal year audits. We talked about these briefly at water board meeting. Please review them at your leisure. Contact the office with questions. We are following up on one financial issue already with our auditors relative to the tracking of road fund money. Item B, we've already discussed. Just a reminder, we'll be putting the water ordinance up on our website for township input as the third ordinance so posted. It's ordinance number 46. Item C is action on the Osceola Township Water Board's recommendation relative to painting the truck. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the water board to paint the water system truck, the ceiling cost of $6,500?
I don't know, he didn't give us a definite figure, he just said it was 6,000 something.
Do we want to set a figure
I
higher than that?
Should we put up to 7?
Up to 7. And the motion to accept the recommendation with a ceiling of $7,000 with regards to the cost for painting the truck. Is there support for that motion? Mr. Warren supports. There's a motion and support to paint the water system truck with a ceiling cost of $7,000. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Jakey?
Yes.
Mr. Wareham?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Ms. Walpole?
Yes.
Yes.
And D on our agenda is the November meeting schedule, and I've mentioned it in passing more than once. The Tamarack City Water Board is scheduled to meet on Monday the 2nd here at 6 p.m. The Osceola Water Board and the Township Board are scheduled to meet Wednesday, November 4th at the office in Delaware Bay. We moved the meeting back 1 week and it closed on the 11th, which is Veterans Day. Comment on that? Everybody comfortable with the schedule? It's going to make it tight.
I'm hit and miss, but well,
High priorities. That need to be taken care of. Thank you, Don. Before I ask if there's a motion to adjourn, would anybody else like to address the Township Board? We'll provide another opportunity for public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board will have up to 3 minutes. And we'll make that opportunity available right now, either present or participating via Zoom.
Hello, this is Cindy Barth. I would like to clarify the Halloween trick-or-treating, please. Has it been decided that it will be Halloween night? And is it house to house only?
Ron, if we may impose upon you?
As far as I know, that's what the kids usually do, is go house to house. The fire department will be out in front of our fire hall handing out candy to the kids. But as far as I know, all the kids from day one always go house to house.
And will there be did I hear you say that the fire hall will be handing out candy as well?
That's correct.
Wonderful. Okay, and it's, what time?
So we're basically looking at 5 to 8.
5 to 8. Thank you. That's it.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Under public comment?
This is Kristen. I have a question. I wanted to clarify on the Mason project. They said that they're anticipating that completed by November 30th. Does that mean that for homeowners and property owners that they will not have any construction days in 2020 because of the late season?
I don't know that we have an answer for that question right now, Kristen. It will depend on when they do complete and how many construction days would be available before the winter shutdown.
Okay, but I think I heard there was 90, there would be a total of 90. However, it was split up between the fall, this end season, and then the spring. Is that correct?
You would split it if necessary, and if the construction season closes this fall, winter, before the 90 days are up, the remaining days would be carried forward into the spring.
Okay, thank you. I know a homeowner, Jerry, my partner, is a property owner there, but might have been in that group that Andrew was saying wasn't reached, because I don't think he has talked to anybody yet about any, about the UP engineering project that he'll be hooking up to.
Understand?
Is there, if he wants to get in touch with someone, who's the best contact? Would that be a UP engineering or you, Mark, or who would he follow up with if he had questions?
Yeah, you can
certainly start
contact
by
me.
calling the township office and we can refer him on.
Andy also said.
Andy has availed himself to answer questions as well at UP Engineering.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your participation this evening. With no additional business coming before the township board, a motion to adjourn is in order. Ms. Gardner, is there support for the motion to adjourn? Mr. Janke, all in favor of the motion to adjourn, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everyone.